most of our rep coaches, and we have one from St. Catharines as well, Dave Woods. Thanks for coming, Dave. Um, Good ex-teammate of mine, good friend, Hung Cho, is doing some really good things with Baseball Canada right now. He's a coach with the junior national team. I'll let him, each guy, tell you a little bit about what their baseball career looks like and what they're up to right now. He let me know that he was coming to Niagara Falls this weekend, and right away I was like, can you please do something for our association? If you're going to be here, we might as well try to get something off the ground. And fortunately, he's got some friends here and some great coaches as well that he was able to put this together with the help of another ex-teammate, Chris Emmanuel, who we played with in Brantford. And then tomorrow, they're going to be running our full development program tomorrow at Bullet. They're going to take it right from the beginning. They're going to film a little bit of content. He'll tell you about what they've got going on. You guys are free to walk around tomorrow. These guys are going to run the show with some of our development coaches. Rack their brains, ask questions, take video, question anything you've got. These guys are great baseball minds, and we're fortunate to have them in Niagara Falls. And we're going to try to grease the wheels to get them down here a couple times a year. So this is Hung Cho, a good friend.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Just want to thank you guys for letting us, kind of do this. It's part of our, I guess, responsibility of what we want to do and what we want to accomplish. Part of my unique perspective in all of this is, I've put on a Team Canada uniform since the 90s as a player, as a senior national team player representing this country, in the 2000s, and then, coaching the junior national team from, 2010 all the way till now, and, the last 12 years, traveling the world. I got to see a very unique perspective of how, we do development pretty much, right? And part of that is our mission as a brand, Oppotaco. We're creating a digital curriculum right now online that could educate people like yourselves, where it opens up resources and education for you guys, right, at a very affordable price. I think part of our development system, part of the problems in our development system is that, technology has come into play a lot. And technology is good in some ways, and obviously it could also be used in ways that might confuse us or frustrate us. It may be taking or teaching us things that might not come into play, but we focus on the wrong things, right? So I brought my team here, part of my team. We actually have a bigger team than this, but we are filming in Toronto. We're filming the part of this curriculum in Toronto, and then we're finishing this off next week in the Dominican Republic. And basically we're creating this curriculum that will really, I think, impact the development system of baseball in Canada. So we're very happy that we're able to, do this with you guys, and we're gonna film some content because in this day and age, digital content is everything, attention is everything, so we have to battle, on our end from a business standpoint. So we're filming content, and just to introduce my guys here, and you guys, feel free to, ask questions. This is the whole purpose. We wanted it separate from kind of like what we're doing tomorrow, because the education portion is what we're pushing with coaches, because ultimately, we could go out there and, coach your kids, but we're not there every day, and that's, I think, the most important thing that I've seen is that we have to really attack the grassroots in terms of the knowledge and fundamentals of the game, so that when we look at the athleticism portion with all these tools and data trackers, that we're able to kind of like bring that all together and kind of like help the development side of things. To my right, I've got Jason Willow. He actually just finished his career at UC Santa Barbara. He was a player of mine in 2016 and 2017 with the junior national team. And he had a very successful career at UC Santa Barbara, NCAA Division I. And so he's an infield specialist. So any infield questions that you guys have, he's going to be able to, help you answer, at least give you the right direction. I got Chris Begg here. He's a former two-time Olympian, two-time World Baseball Classic. I've coached with Chris probably since 2010. Yeah, and then I was his teammate with Team Canada in 2004, 2005. So I know Chris really well and what he's about, where his heart's at, and what he wants to do with all of this. So his background is in pitching. He is a professional bunter, he says. He claims that he is, right? Because You know, yeah, exactly. They are. All pitchers are professional bunters, and that's about it. Yeah, and then over on my far side, it's Renee Tassoni from Coquitlam, BC. He traveled out. Jason, and actually Renee both traveled from BC to be with us here today. So Renee is actually a former Major League Baseball player. He was a big-time prospect through the Minnesota Twins organization. He made his Major League debut in 2011. And he has an extensive career with Baseball Canada, Team Canada, minor leagues, college, all the way up to the big leagues. We talked baseball all week with him and all three of these guys the past week in Toronto. So there's a wealth of knowledge on the offensive side from hitting, outfield, and base running. So any questions on that spectrum, Renee will be able to answer, hopefully. Yeah. As best as we can. Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. It's you guys are going to be presented a lot of information, and it's our job to kind of educate ourselves to be able to see what's good information and bad information. And I think that's part of the learning process. It's how we invest in ourselves, right? In terms of the education portion, so that we can make the right decisions, kind of for that future generation, right? So with that said, do you guys want to add anything to that? Right?
Do you have it?
Sure.
Make sure everybody knows you play in the big leagues.
Yeah, I played in the big leagues. No. I just want to say, pardon? No. Yeah, I had a long minor league career, whatever, but I also coach 18 under team back in Vancouver, the Coquitlam Reds, and I've been there 4 years. And the biggest thing I've noticed as a coach, and it was crazy, it gives me goosebumps when I talk about this, like Cho contacted me right before Christmas and told me about this idea. Actually, he didn't even tell me yet. He asked me what my plan was in life. I hadn't talked to him in a while, so yeah, I had a goal, played baseball, but now I have another goal, get in the fire department, and I wanted to step away from the managing side and get into development, right? I want to develop younger players. I wanted to help develop coaches, and he was like, man, you're going to fit right in. And he pretty much told me what we were going to get into, and it's just kind of how things worked out. I have family here coming out for Christmas to visit this winter, and then they live 10, 15 minutes away from him, so I was like, fuck, I'll come into the shit. I was trying to avoid saying swear. Yeah.
You're the one guy you said.
Yeah, I tried to be a pro.
Go back.
Yeah. It just worked out, right? So with the team I coach, with these young players, they obviously are getting these, volunteer coaches and these parents taking time to develop them through their path, right? But not all of them know the game, right? And it's not on you guys or whoever's spending their time out there. It's just, I think it's just not seen enough or worked enough or whatnot, or maybe they played in an organization that, the coach had no idea and they were just, being there to help out because they want these kids to continue playing, right? So, with the knowledge we have, and a lot of guys throughout Canada, we have connections with so many guys that love this idea, and it's just going to make a big impact on the young coaches or these volunteers, and then also which will develop into the youth players, and then we'll just see a bigger impact all around, right? So it's just really exciting, and we're fortunate enough to be here to even do this. This is what I want to do. I want to sit in front of coaches. I want you guys to ask me whatever, because I try my best to tell these kids, but again, we can't be at every practice, right? So why not hit the coaches so they can take whatever we can offer, and now you guys can throw it down there. And it's going back to the grassroots. It's going to be great, and very excited about it. You got anything? I killed it.
Yeah, I don't need to say too much. This isn't about myself or Willow or Cho. It's about you guys and Renee. So I'm not going to elaborate anymore or echo his sentiments.
I'm good. I got enough.
Yeah, so I think the best way to do this is, honestly, there's no point in being nervous. We're filming all week, and this is why there's that dynamic of oh, I killed it or whatever, because it's very difficult to do stuff, because we're not actors, right? We're baseball guys, and we're trying to play the game and market a product where it's going to be effective, right? So it was quite a challenge, and we're not done yet. But feel free to ask questions, because that's essentially what we're here for. We want to separate this with kind of like the actual kids, so that we could target what your issues are. And not only that, it's about developing in other parts of the country, because we're trying to develop as a whole country, not only pockets of cities, but and we were able to do that through technology too. There's good and bad things with technology, and that allows us to kind of communicate with kind of the rest of the world, right? So we want to do that. Our intentions are clear, because we're not really part of any association, right? This is a brand that I started back in 2009. I started as a clothing brand, and now we just developed it into a culture of baseball, right? And from there, we decided that grassroots baseball is something that is a problem in our community, and we're just trying to bring a logical solution that will actually make an impact, and be able to really educate the grassroots level, right? So we have Jason on the mic over there. If you guys have any questions, we could direct it to maybe a particular position, or it might be a general question, and we'll take turns answering. I think that's the best way, if that works, Jeff.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, feel free. Don't be nervous. This is all, we're all people here, so it's all about a conversation, right? And no question is a bad question. This is what we're looking for. Sometimes we overlook things and say stuff like, oh, it's just this, and it's just nature that we expect other people to know it, but we forget that some people might not know that. So you guys just ask us, and yeah, let us know. Jeff, you have a question?
Yeah, I think the biggest issue that we have in Canada, or where we're at, is like one day a week we've got an indoor facility. Are our kids doing anything the rest of the week?
You're Jeff.
Oh, thanks, Jake. So, like, I can speak to our guys that are in here. We have Bullets facility, like you'll see tomorrow, one day a week. Some of us have a gym another day a week. You guys all made it to the highest levels that we could out of Canada. How do we maximize that gym space and that facility that we have for 1 hour and a half, or maybe 2.5 hours a week? And because I know you guys weren't 6 days a week, you weren't able to do it 6 days a week. How do we maximize the time that we do have indoors, and how do we get the kids? Most of our kids are playing hockey right now, so it is impossible to get them to go a couple days a week throwing. We've had a great winter, but what would you guys like? What was your experience, and how you guys made it to the level you did, being from Canada with winters, etc.?
Start down here. I'm not that guy. Yeah. So where can I start? My dad was a huge impact to me. I was, whenever I could, he would bring me to the park, and he'd throw tennis balls to me. So I used to hit tennis balls all day, while my mom and my sister were running around in the outfield with a tennis racket. Like, that's where I got my work in. That's when we were outside. But inside, gym stuff, we were always doing wiffle ball swinging. Our coach, I had a pretty good coach when I was young. He was very good with his time management, right? So I know it's tough when you got 1 day a week, or only an hour and a half. It comes down to good planning and not showing up to the facility or the gym or whatever. Making sure you get I'm a big fan of lots of swings and defense. Obviously, I want to make sure that they're working on the right stuff. The fundamental stuff, like the situational stuff, that you have to hit on the field. It's really hard to even talk about it indoors, because those kids aren't even gonna process it. They barely listen at school, right? So be able to do tons of reps, and then if I wasn't with a team, I was going on my own, and I was either throwing against a lacrosse ball against a brick wall, or my garage door was dented up, so I wanted it really bad, so I did a lot of extra things on my own or with my best friend, and it might be different now. Like, you don't see those kids that will put in that extra time Like I said, I coach 18 and under. Man, it's awesome when kids ask me, hey, can I come to the field on a Sunday when we're not there? Like, I need balls. Like that. Man, I encourage them. Like, I lock balls up off to the side so they can, get into it themselves and get into the cage. Yeah, it's hard to encourage, or not hard to encourage it, but it's really hard to get them to do that. But yeah, I was a once a week guy when I was growing up too. Like when I was indoors, hit. I was fortunate enough to have a pretty good hitting coach that put the time in with me and my brother. But yeah, it's encouraging them to do things on themselves and be creative. Like, even like that, I don't know if anybody saw me earlier, I used to flip a ball up in the air and just like pick it, flip a ball up in there and pick it, like understanding the short hop. There's also a lot of things now, like even hitting into a sock net in your garage or whatever you can get to get those extra reps. And honestly, some of these virtual games are pretty realistic too. You see these kids got these virtual headsets. I'm not promoting that or anything, but it's pretty realistic. I threw one of those on and it's like you're having full at bats against a real pitcher. So that's pretty cool too. Man, if you love the game, just keep doing it and don't stop. Don't expect one practice to be the day that you're going to get better and then just remember it, a week later or something like that. So yeah, that's what I got. What do you got?
Well, that takes us to the end of the session tonight. Thanks.
Did I answer your question too?
No, Renee actually made a few valid points. One, good on you for having them play hockey. That specialized athlete right now, I'm not a big fan of it. So it's winter, play hockey, play basketball, play whatever. Two, the indoor, like the gym, make friends with the custodian, grease them with a C note and see if you can get in there and throw against those heavy padded mats. That's one. While they're at the arena, they're already warm. I used to throw that lacrosse ball against the back of the arena wall all the time. And that's good. The weight is right about the same. It's a little bit smaller and you can get your arm moving pretty quick. So those would be the ones that I would say for sure for throwing wise, right? So yeah, take them out. There doesn't seem to be a ton of snow right now, and there's probably going to be less as we go into the next couple months. So they're already warm. Go out there and start playing catch in those other days. Maybe another day or two. They don't need to throw. They really don't need to throw 6 days a week like everybody's led to believe now with all the showcase thing and they feel like they need to be ready to pitch 9 innings in February or whatever. No, like just get them playing catch 2-3 times a week is fine. But those are a few good options this time of year.
Tell them what Albers did. Albers is a teacher. He threw against what's it called? A cement wall in the gym. Like that's Andrew Albers played in the big leagues, and that's what he had. He's from Saskatchewan, and he just set flat grounds, and he put a little square against a brick wall, and he just threw bullpens against this brick wall by himself. And not only that, he was doing his PFPs at the same time because that ball was coming right back at him. So he was doing 2 things at once. And when he told me that, I was freaking blown away.
Yeah, that's similar to what I did. I just used those heavy mats. So it was kind of the agreement with the janitor. So I wouldn't be thrown against the concrete wall the whole time. Those heavy mats, they cushion it, comes back, you field it or whatever, and go from there.
Yeah, on this, I don't have too much to say. These guys covered it. What I would say is, with regards to practice, again, like you said, you may only have kind of 1 day a week. Me being really fresh out of college, most of college baseball now, you have, for me, in season, it's only 20 hours of coach-led instruction, right? So what that teaches me through my coaches was every day was like, scheduled. Like it was, 5 minute to 5 minute. And I think that'll help you guys because again, like you said, you may only be in the gym once a week. That hour and a half, like you want to take full advantage of that, right? If you waste 10 minutes here and there, like that, that's like 20% of your time, right? So you got to understand that, have a plan, like go into your practices, have it scheduled out. Know, minute to minute, kind of what you're doing, right? Because an hour and a half is like a super short time, but if we're there once a week, we got to use that. That's what I would say. Just try and use your time wisely. Know what works, know what doesn't work, right? You got to be adaptable. Practice. First one that you might have of the year might be kind of sloppy. You might waste time between catch, play, and ground balls, things like that. But if you have separate coaches doing separate catch, play, what? Separate coaches at separate stations, I think that's huge for maximizing the guy's time for, like you said, that hour and a half or whatever that they are there for.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is, before I'll answer your question, the biggest challenge is obviously time, resources, right? And they hit it on the nail. It's like, honestly, I grew up in Scarborough, not having a facility at all in Scarborough. My dad was a big believer in, getting reps in to be able to, repeat a pattern where I'm confident in that ability. And I promise you, I hit more than anybody in Ontario. Like, I will promise you that I have people that vouch for that. But that also required a lot of discipline, right? So Chris talked about this. Athleticism is key. It's nothing wrong with, playing multi-sport at that age. That's what we want, because there's certain movements that kids develop differently at different ages, so we can't specialize them in too early. So I think that was a main point, and that 1 hour and a half schedule that we have, Jason talked about it a bit. You don't have that much time, so it's like you got to really, as coaches, really be efficient with your time, right? It's not saying you have to run a full practice during that 1 hour and a half where you have to get every single element of a particular of baseball in. Like, I sometimes, when we have like an hour or an hour and a half, if I have a bunch of kids, I would specialize that in a certain area that I want to touch upon. Maybe it's we're gonna take all the offensive guys, and then we're gonna really break down, in that time frame, very specific things that may be applicable to every player, right? So I think trying to do too many things, wasting time on stuff like stretching, not that stretching is not important, but like 30 minutes in that time frame where it's like kids are just talking and then coaches are doing their own thing. It's like, here, start practice, and we go to our typical routine of hitting, right? I think having intention is so important, and just attacking that from that lens, just making sure that you are efficient with your time, because it's not only you guys that this is an ongoing, a problem in Canada, is the lack of resources at the end of the day, whether it's training facilities, money, budgets, and all that, right? So that's what we're dealing with. So it's like, how can we now, make that efficient? And part of the stuff that we add in our curriculum is like workout plans, how to create a proper workout plan, and stuff like that. And that's what we're planning to do.
I got something to jump on. I'll just give an example what I do. I only get the cage twice a week, and then one day I get an indoor soccer facility. So I really buckle down on my hitting those 2 days I have the cages. Like, I don't waste any infield time. I know if my younger or my daughters play softball, and I watch their practices indoor from outside of the school, because I'm looking through a window, and it's like they're going from one thing to the next thing, and every time they're switching, from hitting to infield, it seemed like a 5-minute, rollover, which is time missed, right? So I really encourage our hitting when we're in the cage, and then I'm just full out infield when we're inside. I don't even bring bats out in the soccer. Yeah.
So when you have your cage days, how many different stations do you have?
So I'm fortunate enough to I have a drop screen. So that's the day where we also take advantage of our bullpens, or just kind of flat ground. So we have 3 cages. It's not mine, we rent it, whatever. But one cage is just pitchers, and he's got that. And I got an hour and a half too, actually hour and 15. So the middle cage, I'll drop right in half. And then I have a short cage, so that's just a half cage anyways. And then I go through soft toss. They'll get in there, get their tee work done while the pitchers are doing their thing with weighted balls or whatever they got. And then my pitching coach really good at having his schedule, so he's really good with his time management there too. And then after they do their tee work, we go into soft toss, right? So I go right into soft toss. Again, I do a bunch of different drills with my guys. They're 18, 17 years old. We go into, middle, in, away. Usually get about 3-4 rounds of soft toss in. But because I have 3 cages, I got 3 different drills going on. So I rotate them. It's pretty efficient. And then from there, I'll get 1 pitching machine in one, and then I'll start throwing BP in the middle one. And then we'll just go until, the end of the night. And then once that far cage opens up, when the bullpens are done, we'll turn that into another cage of swinging. So, yeah.
So then how long is your winter schedule
So like, what age group are you talking about, right? So me personally, I don't like using the pitching machine for velo. I don't, because it's so hard to get timing. It's really hard for these guys that have different loads and stuff like that. I like it for the curve balls. Like I'm just putting balls that are moving for the eye, right? I just want that. And then when we throw BP, I don't even throw that hard, but that's their rhythm and timing off of me, because I'm, I go through like pretty much a stretch, right?
So you're basically building a swing up without anything and then kind of adding extra components near the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then yeah, exactly. We're gonna get into live ABs too. Again, like the speed stuff. If you can do it, again, but I don't encourage guys to have a good load. Really, I'm more of a load, easy load. Yeah.
Into the cage without like the first few weeks when we started, it's like, oh, let's get on the machine. I'm like, we've got to get our swings down. We haven't swung in a couple months. Right?
Yeah, I don't even get on the machine until like, we've been in there since first week of January, and it's like week 2 maybe, because that's probably be like week 3, probably after like 8 days or 4 good days in the cage or whatever it is, and then like off of us, because they're just getting back to the hitting, right? Don't go right to the machine; they're gonna be screwed.
Just reiterate how much pro guys just hit off tee and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like once I got into even college, we didn't even hit off a pitching machine. It was only curveballs. Yeah, like pro guys, they hit their best tool is their tee. You get all your mechanical stuff done there, and then BP is field, like a good field session, and then timing with the velo. That just I don't know. I think that just came because I never really was facing hard pitching off of a machine ever. You guys got anything on it? Any more questions off of that?
How do you break down? What other drills do you do with your hitters? Like anything like 45 degree. Can you speak to any of those?
Yeah, so I'm a big work from the ground up kind of guy. So like with our tee work, I go into the 45. Like I even open up their stance, making sure their backside is rotating along with their along with their swing, right? So I always I call it off angle soft toss. So like that's one of my stations of the 3 stations I have. I'll have one coming from like a left-handed slider angle, and then I'll have another station from a right-handed slider angle, and then I'll have one straight up. I always do fastball changeup, so I always like to just mix it in there, so they're not just always going to that one speed of a fastball. So I'll just mix them one that looks like and it'll pop up. So understanding that when they load, that they're loading for a reason. They're not just going forward to ready to hit that fastball every time. So they need to understand that their pitchers are going to throw multiple pitches. So understanding the rhythm and staying back.
Could you just explain the 45 degree angle, like stuff like that? 'Cause
Yeah,
we have coaches from 8U to 18U here. Yeah.
Okay, so say if you're my hitter right here, I will move my L screen, so the side of the L is here and whatever the arm's there, and I'll go 45 like this. So, and I want the hitter to be set up, straight, like they're hitting like the pitches over here. So now we got a right-handed slider, right? And then I'll flip the L screen over. Now I like to flip. I can flip left-handed, right? So if you can't push that L screen as far as you can, and then go from your right hand, and then I go straight up, get into fastball changeup. I'm fortunate I have 3 coaches that are able to help me out. I encourage this a lot, because not only is it working on the different angle where the ball's coming in, but you need to really look at with your both eyes, right? If you can't see the ball with both eyes, it's really hard to hit. So now they're picking me up at that the head turn, right, lefty, righty, and again, you can get into the changing speeds on this too. And I really encourage the changing speeds, and don't let them know, because you'll see, oh, it's too slow, right? This really gets them to focus on staying on their backside, reading every time. I'm reading fastball, reading changeup, right? So they're controlling their load with their back leg.
Can you use a demonstration of your swing?
My swing?
Yeah.
It's funny. He demonstrates as a righty, but he's a left-handed hitter.
So your top is 45 degree right in the soft toss.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, okay. Let's go into the coach about the soft
Okay,
toss.
so now the coach has a responsibility.
That's soft toss, right? Like it's basically a straight arm, right?
So you're talking about the rhythms?
So when the coach is throwing the soft toss,
Yeah, when's the load happening?
when is load happening?
On the back. So,
That's right.
and I love this question because you're only as good as your tosser. If your coach sucks, you're going to be not so good hitter, right? And so it's really good to take pride in your soft toss, 100%. This is huge, right? So I have so my hitter's probably at that wall. This is where I stand. And I'm a right foot, left foot throw, and then I head behind the L screen. Like I want good, firm, soft toss. This
Kind of
is
like you're fishing a ball.
exactly, like you don't see balls come like this when you're hitting, and I hate, so if you guys do this, don't do it anymore, please. Like, don't sit on a bucket and flip to the kids like this. I know it's easier, but they will appreciate good soft toss, so get a good rhythm. I show the ball, and then when I go forward, when I go back, that's when the hitter wants to get into that slow load. And it's always slow, 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 explode. When that front foot hits the ground, they should be boom, boom, right? Slow load, explode.
I know you mentioned you hate hitting off the machine. I think most of us hate hitting off the machine. So rookie ball, right?
Rookie ball, what's that?
Rookie ball, not the
they
machine.
use
For the
the
U8,
machine.
U9, right? When should the batter be getting stuff for his low? Like when
So is that machine, you drop it?
drop?
Okay, yeah.
it is.
So like I encourage you should probably start your load don't be don't push it down there.
Right.
But like usually when I don't know the length of whatever rolls in or whatever.
Usually what happens is like, it comes up like this, or let's say if you wait the rough ball, the coach is actually doing it, right? So it actually show the ball. So the ball is here.
It's just the hitter starting
It's dropped in. So what?
Yeah, so when the pitchers or when the coach is bringing their hand or like that ball to that tip, they should be starting that slow load. And the thing is, you can't load too soon, right?
It's almost a change-up load that you show.
Yeah, exactly.
Liquid ball because, like the rocks and it's terrible. It's a terrible thing.
And with that, I think concepts are very important. When I say concepts is like, okay, let's dissect rookie ball pitch, and you show the pitch, it goes up. What are you trying to do as a hitter? Like just a coach, forget the kid. If I'm thinking there, I'm just timing it. Timing is essential, right? But it's the concept of timing that you have to understand why you're doing it so that you could teach the concept to the kid. So the kid understands the timing concept of what you're trying to do. Like we're not trying to establish anything when that ball is released to hit it. It's literally like that ball's released. I'm trying to time it and match it, right? So it's the concept of why the whole timing process. What's the point of timing, for instance, right? That's why like some people will say, and we had this discussion with Renee, it's like, I believe that stride, whether it's in the big leagues, at the lowest level of development, it's all about timing, because the whole concept of hitting is if you're on time, your body will react athletically to create the right movement, at least to hit it. And you could see that in mechanics breakdown when your timing is off. So you'd be surprised that if you're on time, you will actually learn the concept of hitting properly, because that's the only way you're going to hit properly if you're on time. So what you have to do with the kid in that standpoint is have him understand the concept of timing, right? And you could do it with anything. You could look at a car and you say, when it hits that point, I'm going to lift my leg up and go, right? That's practicing the concept of timing. You could do it with, pitches. Every time I see a pitcher warming up, that's all I do. I get so many at-bats off that pitcher just on timing alone. And I don't have to do any swings. I literally go in the box, the pitcher's in the bullpen or whatever, or this is rookie ball, but I know like other coaches coach older people, the starting pitcher's pitching, have your guys time. Just time that when the catcher catches, that's the hitting zone, right? And what you're trying to do is you're trying to teach the concept of the timing, where you're trying to match that. And I think that's one of the most important things and that's what we're trying to really bear down is why. Always ask why. It's like, oh, you got to have your hands back. Why? What does that mean, right? If we just tell the kids, well, I learned it at the convention center or whatever, right? We're not really doing any justice because the kid's not understanding it, right? So that's my big thing. Whether it's timing, whether it's swing, it's like, what are we trying to accomplish and why are we doing it, right? And sorry, that goes back to what I was talking about. Most of the time, it's like you know, it's easy to square up a ball inside when we're front tossing. And Tony mentioned it before, how he sometimes, you know, does that change up, right? And those are little things that actually happen in a game because, you know, the pitchers aren't your best friend. They're not going to lay it in there, right? So it's like,
Listen,
and
Chris.
set that one up, pitch to contact, yeah. So yeah, for me, it's all about, you know, practicing that timing as well. It's most likely timing because you tell a kid to swing and he'll hit line drive after line drive in the cage, and you think it's good, but then a little velocity, spin, or anything that is not perfect on that timing is going to produce a poor swing at the end of the day, right? So it's not a matter of, you know, why isn't the kid hitting in a game versus practice. It's if he understands and practices the concepts of timing, then he will get better at a game situation because the pitcher is trying to do the opposite of what you're doing. His whole thing is get you off timing. Me as a hitter is get on timing. That's all it is, right? At the most basic level. Obviously, you get intricacies, yeah.
No, I think for his question, too, part of that is the approach.
Yeah, that's
So in the cage, it's his approach that he may need just to adjust.
Yeah, that too. You put a bat in their hand and they feel strong pulling the ball, right? So yeah, you're young. Like everybody loves to hit the ball really far, and it's easier to hit it really far on the pull side. So that happens a lot. You see these kids roll these balls over, right? It comes to approach. It comes to maybe, you know, what is he tracking the ball? Is he picking up the ball early enough, right? So is he looking in the area of halfway from, you know, the pitcher to home plate? Like, is he picking up this ball late and now he can't see, you know, the spin of it or whatever? Like, big thing that we were talking about, and at me as a hitter, is I'm a big arm slot. Where am I looking? Where's this arm coming from? Is it coming from over here? Is it coming down here? Coming up there? So I want to try my best to pick it up as soon as I can, right? Because now I'm looking for spin right after. And the sooner I could see it, obviously I'm going to have a better chance to hit it, right? And then it goes down to approach too, right? I'm a big, like Cho says, you know, his was Oppo gap approach, right? That was his big approach, and mine. I just like to tell yeah, exactly. Mine. Yeah. But you couldn't get it over the fence that way, right?
That's right. Those who can't do teach.
Yeah. I couldn't either. But I like to tell my players, just try to hit it to center fielder, every pitch to center field as hard as you can. But it doesn't mean you have to hit it to center field. It's the mindset, right? My mindset is I'm coming. That ball is coming. I'm hitting it back to the center fielder as hard as I can. If it's, you know, if I'm late, I'm hitting a hard line drive to left field, talking about a lefty. And if I'm early, you know, hopefully I'm able to hit a long, you know, hard line drive to the right center field or right field line. If you go up there thinking pull, you just eliminate like that hole outside of the plate, or you just tend to be way out front because you have to get the barrel out front. And same thing if you have that Oppo approach, some of these kids think, oh, Oppo's got to be down the line, right? Got to be down the line. So when I say center field, that's left center to right center. That's my approach. If you're late, you go the other way. If you're early, you pull it. We're done? Ask a pit. Oh, sorry.
It's more like a development philosophy thing. So we're coaching a U8 team. I have multiple left-handers. I can see at this table here, I think you guys are all righties, right?
Yeah.
So
Throwers, yeah.
So you're a lefty?
I hit left-handed.
No.
Righty throwers, yeah, all righty
I can
throwers.
try. Yeah,
All right, so for development.
He probably did
He can
lefty
do
in the
everything.
I
big
can
leagues
throw
though
back
too,
practice
so.
left-handed.
So for development purposes, here, and then philosophy, is that, you know, like in baseball, right, lefties are what? First baseman, outfielders, pitchers, right? At the U8 level, what's the philosophy of having, let's say, a lefty play third base, shortstop, playing multiple positions?
Let them
Do you
play.
think it's a good idea or a bad idea?
Let them play. Let them play everywhere until it gets to that elite baseball kind of situation. Some of the best players I've played with were left-handed, but like you get to, I think he was 16, maybe 17. He moved to center field and first base just because you get into that situation. But U8, you're play everywhere, please. Even catch if you can.
You're promoting a lot of good things if you let them play anywhere. Just body movements, right? Knowing your place in space, knowing how to move around, backhand, forehand, throwing, moving your feet. it translates everywhere on the field. So let him go wherever. If you see that video of Don Mattingly playing third base in the big leagues,
So when does that change?
when they suck,
No.
when they start pitching really well, because that's where we want them.
It's hard to say, like, when does that change? Like, I don't know,
Like a lot of things, there's no right answer for what age. It's ability level, right? Like, kids mature, especially at, from 12 to 16. The way they mature physically and every way, right? Like you can't say at 13 years old we're going to stop this or you're only going to do this. Read the kid, read the ability level.
Yeah, if they're playing shortstop and they're getting outs.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
But there is gotta be a certain time, because really, realistically, right, is that when you start playing, let's say the down level, right? You know, I mean, like, that's when you're getting at that age where, hey, you know, you can really see where that kid is
Right.
right now, right? And a lefty in college.
Yeah.
The
So-
big one, you never see.
So why, let me ask you, why don't you see it?
No, I was gonna ask you.
So why don't we see it? It's because the levels are determined at the speed of the game. That's what's determining levels. It's the speed of the game. So if you're talking about efficiency at the highest level, right? Those are the things that the level will dictate that answer. You know, and that's usually when you start seeing it in more specialized, when we're talking about that elite level, because the speed of the game gets quicker, right? So it's like there's a lot of disadvantages for a lefty shortstop, for instance, as opposed to a righty shortstop. Same with the catching position. So you don't see it at the higher levels because the speed of the game is the most important thing, and that's why we teach as kids get older, it's slowing down the game, right? So as we slow down the game, or if we speed up the game, it gets quicker, right? So it's like, I think that's so important, is that the game will dictate when that, and it will expose it at that level.
So basically at that age, efficiency, right? Yeah, as you get older, at the younger age, you're basically, the kids are learning how to play the game, understand.
Right.
Oh, yeah, they want.
That's why you're moving in a different position.
100%.
This is what I say, especially we see it so much now where it's like, oh, you got a 14-year-old kid who's a PO, right? That wasn't even a term when I was a kid, right? So why did that kid become a PO?
Why?
Because at some point, somebody decided that they were a better pitcher than position player, right? Say they were an outfielder and pitcher. They might have been equal, and at 16 years old, you know what, you're a better pitcher here. Great. That same kid might have maybe become a better outfielder at some point. So that lefty, what's going to end up happening is it goes along with what Hung was saying. Eventually their ability kind of starts to get, elevate on one or get exposed on one, and it doesn't quite hold up on the other. You got hockey and baseball players. Which sport are they going to play in the end? Probably whichever one they excel in, right? So there's where that decision is made. So that lefty shortstop eventually won't be able to keep up with the speed of the game, and they'll end up on the mound, hopefully, outfield or first base, right?
Great answer, Ben.
So it's kind of like you want to keep the kids engaged for as long as possible until the talent and the concept kicks in.
I always say, like, pitchers, I have pitchers, like, you know what? At the end of the day, you're going to end up on the mound, but play every position until they don't let you. We see third baseman. I can specifically think of a third baseman who eventually you're going to move across the diamond to first because the game's going to speed up. And this is in pro ball I'm talking about. And stay at third base, though, as long as you possibly can, because you can always make that transition to first, right? And just keeps that athleticism, keeps the ability, keeps the movements, keeps everything, the hands and all that. So just play as many as you can until the game tells you, I can't quite do that anymore.
That's a great question.
Good question.
So when it comes to like infield practice, do you think it's more beneficial to be like game situational practice or fundamental practice?
Here we go. Finally gets to talk. No, I think it's both. And that's like, you learn that, right? It's just like hitting, right? We're never just going to only hit live, right? You got to work up those fundamentals, those skills as an infielder. But then you have to put them in game scenarios. I think coaches get caught too much in that fundamental era, and then the game comes around and it speeds up on the kid. I think you hear that a lot, like the game speeds up on you. You want to put them in scenarios in practice where they can have that game-like rep. Something that I like to do is like hit ground balls on a clock, right? So you find out what a good speed runner is at the level that you're coaching, and you tell your guys to beat that speed, right? Because what that does is it teaches them to, the pressure's not there because it's not a game, but we're still working towards, let's say he's a 4-2 runner. We're trying to beat that, right? So you got to be able to put them in those scenarios that challenge them, right? Challenge them and make them feel like it's a game-like rep. So then when that game-like rep does happen and that guy is running a 4-2 down the line, it's really easy to make the play.
Yeah, I'll add something to that too. Game speed is so important to practice at. Like we could go indoors and then, the coach hits nice fun, goes 2 hoppers. It's easy to field a ground ball. And that's when you're really working on, fundamentals of the athletic movement there, where you could really implement your footwork, for instance, implement that fielding position that you're trying to accomplish, right? So, but that doesn't necessarily translate into game situations, because you got the fields that we play on are brewed. I grew up in Scarborough. They were absolutely we're playing on rocks, right? So it wasn't the same as when I took ground balls in the gym. There was no turf. We were taking ground balls on the gym. The hops are perfect. All of a sudden we go out on the field, we experience live ground balls, and what happens is, our footwork stops. The fundamentals that we usually practice on in infield, we're moving our feet, it never stops. We get good hops inside. We go outside, and all of a sudden it's hopping everywhere. Our footwork stops. So we start, and it's the lack of, practicing live ground balls. Like for me, every time, especially at the junior national team level, and this will apply more at the higher level, because we take batting practice before a game, for instance. The best time to take ground balls is during batting practice. They're literally full swinging it. They might be out in front, where you could work on that first step or that angle. Those are the live at-bats you want, because you're doing so much more things from a live perspective than inside. But there is value to both, because you have to, for instance, move your footwork efficiently, and you work on that inside, because that's one of your fundamentals that you don't negotiate, because that's needed. So that should translate into game speed, always, right? Yep.
So obviously we have 2 kind of sessions. We've got indoor and then we've got outdoor.
Yeah. We're next. You're next. We got you.
Sorry.
No one
Can
put
you
their-
break
no one put their
down
hand up.
infield daily work that we could do indoors, and that obviously we do every day, but then it's tough to do situational ground balls when we're indoors, so we try to get as many reps as possible. Could you speak to infield daily work and what you would have in that program?
Yeah, subscribe to Oppotaco Drill Library, but I think you just have to learn that, and for every, I think, infielder now through all levels, for instance, a glove work to start, everyone should do that, right? It's something that's super easy, but it's super basic, and then just kind of work your way up, right? You kind of want to control the environment as much as possible, and then work your way out of it. That's how I think of it, right? You want to, so turf. I like turf because guys really get to work on their short hops. They get to work on being comfortable with it, because when you play on turf, right, you're thinking no bad hops, right? So although that doesn't teach you the right way, what that does is you can focus on stuff. But then you take them outside, and that may transfer over a little more. So just being able to find out what works, but also at the same time maximizing reps inside. Again, we get it that you can't do everything inside. It's not a field. You can't do full infield, outfield. You can't do stuff. But learning what works, and also just feeling I don't know how to say it, but you gotta learn what your infielders kind of need work on, and then work with what you have, and then build off that.
Thanks, guys. When you guys played, let's say at your highest level, there's 2 different questions. How long were your practices? And not cage work or anything, I'm mainly talking when you're working on defensive positions. And then knowing that most of us only see our players for a couple hours a week. When we're talking about things like, let's say infield work, how much time do you think we should spend on the fundamentals versus game like would you say 50-50 or?
So I'll just give you my practice plan that I do. Okay, so usually my practice determines on what we messed up with the game before. So usually they get there, they stretch. My practices again are 2 hours. They get there, they stretch, they get into their throwing program, and I really want to make sure that their catch play, that he would say, I don't call that, when they're playing catch, each guy has a goal. If they're an outfielder, if they're a pitcher, or they're an infielder. I want my outfielders working when they get long. I want them working on long hops to their partners, right? I want them working on spin moves from like the corner outfield, turning and throwing to the cutoff guy. Like we're making catch play efficient, right? Take pride in your catch play. It's not a 5-minute thing. It should be, I think, 10 minutes of throwing. After you go, that my outfielders, right, I'm an outfield guy, so I make sure they get all their long stuff in and make sure they're warm. And then Willow could go off on how important it is on the infielders, doing the same thing. Want to hit this real quick? I'll just say what my plan is. I'll go into his catch play kind of routine. But yeah, so after we're done our catch play, I split them up. I go outfielders in the outfield with one of my coaches, and then I got 2 coaches in the infield, and we're hitting mass ground balls, mass fly balls. Okay, so I'm hitting the right side, second base, first base. I got another coach going shortstop, third base. And then once we go through a basket, now I got third base going, to second for a double play with the first baseman while I'm just hitting mass ground balls to short. And I just changed the situations up with the double plays, now shortstop and middle guys, slow rollers to third, whatever. And then after mass ground balls, I don't know, probably about 15, 20 minutes. I don't really watch the clock. I usually go by how many times I've gone through the bucket. We go into some sort of situational stuff, field team fundamentals. If it's pop-up priorities, if it's rundowns, if it's PFPs. What did you say? No. Yeah, like any team fundamental stuff. And then I really, I like to do it until we do it right a couple times. Like I'm not going to just drill it, over and over and over again because they'll lose interest, right? So let's make sure it's clean, make sure it's efficient, make sure you get it done, obviously, because they need to learn these situations. And then I go into batting practice, and this is what Cho's hitting. Okay, now we're getting our live feeds, right? Our infielders are putting themselves in situation, playing double play depth, playing in the hole. Again, like I know I don't have enough guys for all my infielders to be playing in the infield. So at least I say if I have 3 rounds or 3 groups of BP, one round you're taking dead serious, even my outfielders. I want you out there playing your position, putting yourself shallow, putting yourself deep, taking real routes and take it serious, right? Everybody should be out of your way. If you got POs, like I coach older guys, so I have POs. So I tell them to F off, go stand by the fence. But my outfielders are getting their work in. Infielders, they're hitting in group 2. Go group 1, take some serious ground balls. Group 2, go hit. Group 3, now you're kind of helping out the outfielders because nothing pisses me off more when balls are laying around in the outfield. So make sure the balls get picked up and nobody gets hurt too. And go on your catch play there, big guy. Oh, you want to go on your catch play? That's how I run my practice. Sorry. And then I'm done.
Me first. Yeah, so catch play infield wise, and I hope I have a lot of good stuff to say, but like if there's one thing I would take home from this for infield wise, I would say having a catch play routine. As an infielder, like throwing at all levels, and I think we can all agree here, like playing catch is something that's like so important, and like the good teams really do that well. Infield wise, it's a huge part of it, right? So for me, catch play, and I used to do the same thing. It was kind of just getting loose, shooting the shit, You guys probably did the same thing. Your kids do the same thing, right? They're talking about what's going on at school. We got to understand like that 10 minutes, it's like 10 minutes of practice. Like you said, you may only have an hour and a half. So we got to use that to get better at catch play. Yeah, it's good to kind of work your way out. And I think let your guys work their way out, get loose. But then for me, what I got, which really helped me with, my throwing ability and being accurate, was when we work in, we then want to try and replicate our throws. So I always went down to 90 feet. I would take 5 straight up ground balls. So just start with the ball in your glove, and just take it, use your footwork perfectly, and throw to your partner. 5 of those. 5 forehands, 5 backhands, 5 relays. We can work, there's so many things you can work in, but using that time to get better is huge. And I think the benefits will pay off big time. You'll start to see you guys have less throwing errors. And one, it'll give them confidence, right? Especially game day, you guys, a lot of you guys don't hit BP, right? We want to be in a position where we throw and then pitch one. You know, I feel like I'm confident and I can go out there, and if the ball's hit to me, I'm going to throw a seed across the diamond of the chest. Because why? Because catch play, I was working on that. I know my footwork's down. I know my arm's going to get in a good spot. Instead of, you know, oh, I was talking to Timmy, you know, that fortnight was sweet, and I wasn't focusing, and then it's like it speeds up on me really quick. So I would say if you guys take one thing back, that's huge. That'll help your young guys. And although they might be a little mad at you at the start, you know, I want to talk with my guys. It'll pay off for them in the long run.
I'll touch upon kind of like breaking down what you're saying, how many percentage you gonna allocate from team fundamentals to like an actual physical. I personally, if I'm managing team, one, I got to know my coaches. Like who do I have on my staff? Because I like to have like specialized coaches, even though they might not be, but I want him responsible for the outfielders, for instance. I have one coach on infielders and maybe one on pitcher, let's just say. I think it's crucial to implement team defensive fundamentals every single practice. And for me, there's 5 basic ones that you implement, and you go through that every practice, but you don't need an hour long. That fundamental, if done properly, you need a good 15 minutes. Pop-up priority, for instance. You know, it's so basic that we don't think that, oh, everybody knows, you know, center field has priority over the corners. You know, shortstop has priority over the whole infield. You know, second base has priority over the corners and so forth, right? But those things are so basic that we're like, yeah, of course we know that, but you need to implement that into your practices every day. And whether it's, I would rotate from pop-up priority to picks and rundowns, to cuts and relays, you know, to bunt defense, you know, and so on. And as you do that, you know, throughout a whole season, let's just say, you should be doing that every single practice. And then from there, I like to go into your individualization by position. So it's like you got to get your individual work. So you did your teamwork, and you could do this in any order. You could do your individual work first. So you have, you know, Coach John, you know, with the outfielders. He's working 10, 15 minutes with the outfielders right now. You got Jason here working with, you know, the infielders. And then you got Beggar working with the pitchers. And that's the individualization now that we're breaking down. Okay, we're really going to bear down double play feeds here. And we're going to really break that down. You know what I mean? And then after that's done, you could do your team fundamentals and then go and finish off with the round of BP where it's more live and action based. And as you do that, that's kind of building that kind of like workout schedule, efficient workout schedule. Like these guys say, catch play is the most important. That's where it starts, stretching, because you're trying to accomplish a purpose. As we play catch, you're working on so many individual things, and then you're warm at the same time. Then you go into your individual work. That's 15 minutes. Then you go into team fundamentals. That's 15 minutes. You have 45 minutes to hit. Efficient hour and a half practice right there. Yes?
I got something.
Okay. To reiterate, these guys are saying that throwing is kind of, it's the only skill that every position on the field uses. So why are we cutting that short? Because we want to rush into something else, right? Let them do that. We're getting this one. So I got one other thing though for pitchers. If you want some good quality reps, what's that? If we want some good quality reps, every time when we play catch and we stretch it out, we go long toss, or maybe they go 100 feet, 200 feet, whatever it is, and they bring it back in. When they're kind of done stretching out and they're loose, take them to the distance of whatever distance you're pitching out, whether it's 60 or 55 feet or slightly shorter than that. So if it's 60 feet, say 55 to 60 feet. If it's 55 feet, say 50 to 55 feet. Have them execute all their pitches with their partner, okay? We do this as pro guys every single day that we play catch, which is pretty much every single day. We play catch, we bring it in, and it's called a flat ground bullpen, or flat ground. Okay, we do this, and all we're doing is we're throwing all of our pitches, okay? Your fastballs, your curveballs if we're throwing them now, your change-ups, and it's not overdoing it. We're not throwing 50 pitches. We're throwing 3 to 4 of each, and if everything feels good and crisp, we wrap it up. We're working on mechanical things here, but it's like one of those things, like you're taking pride in it and you're just doing it right. You're not doing it, it's a quality over quantity thing, okay? So if you're working on a mechanical thing, if you're working on just feeling crisp and good, so now all of a sudden I go out on the mound, it's not, well, I haven't thrown in a week and thrown a changeup in a week. No, you've thrown it every day that we've played catch. So that's something, that's a pro tip. You do that in pro ball, and it's something I'd encourage right at the youngest levels. Even if they're not pitching, come in and just use good mechanics of throwing. Put some emphasis on that.
Somewhere else.
Jeffrey.
One thing I'd like to say about that I learned coaching, usually coaching teenagers, high school kids, and then going back down to the young ages, try to match up who you're playing catch with.
Yeah.
If you've got a couple really strong, throwers, your middle infield or whatever, match them up every time they play catch. Otherwise, I remember someone said it's fetch, not catch. Or your outfielders that can really throw long, kind of match up who you've got on your team. And then if you've got your middle infielders that have that footwork, have them bring it in and then do their quick feet. And there's some kids that, I coach 10U, they can't do that yet. We try to get them to that, but that maximizes the reps of your better kid, your more advanced kids, and then we try to break it down that way as getting as many of those, like we have groups of 4 pretty much, the strongest, the middle, and then the guys that are a little bit weaker. Nothing wrong with that, but it brings everybody up at the same time, basically. It's just something that I saw.
I just want to hit something on that too. Because of that, it's a safety thing too, right? So especially when you bring it in as infielders and you're working on those balls left to right or spin move, it doesn't matter how hard they throw. So make sure that they're not, throwing as hard as they can when they're, 40 feet away. Like that's how someone gets hurt, or, how close are these partners standing next to each other. So the angle on the catch play is to make sure like they're doing the move and having a good solid throw, but it's not as hard as they can throw it, right? Yeah, so it's all footwork stuff. That's the goal there, is the footwork and how important that is.
Make sure there's a coach out there for catch play.
100%. Yeah, you're always watching that.
I think, Jeff, that's a part of the accountability that we're talking about. This is on the coaches. You guys have to recognize that early. Like, if a guy who's never played catch before is playing with your shortstop, it's better off for the shortstop. You as a coach have to identify that. It's like get your middle guys playing catch, and that's why I like to kind of go into individualization first, because I already have my infielders with my infielders. They're only going to play catch with the infielders. Outfielders play catch with outfielders. They could work on the same thing, and you have that individual coach breaking it down. Whereas you could do a generic stretch and then partner up and catch. It's like break them earlier. Do the stretch, do an active stretch so the body's warm, break them up into individual, get the coaches now to work on the throwing patterns earlier, right? I think that's a easy solution, but I put it on the coach for us to identify that is an issue in the first place, right? And that comes with basic education, right?
At a young age, you can have the progressions and the regressions for the kids that aren't quite there.
100%, yeah.
I got something.
I just want to just remember your question real quick. We don't have a catching guy here right now, right? So again, this is a huge time to get catchers to work with each other on footwork, right? With catch play. So I'm just encouraging catch play and how important. I know we talked about outfield, we talked about infield, we talked about pitching, but catchers can work on transfers. They can work on footwork. So again, catch play. So many things could get done there, and make sure if you have a catcher and you think that they're going to be a good catcher, encourage them to get in a squat position, work on a fake transfer, and throw in that ball hard too.
Okay, another question regarding on development again. Practice versus games. Okay, now at the youth level, and I'm just getting back into coaching again. I keep on hearing we play too many games and not enough practices. What's your philosophy on that? And how do we compare on what the Americans are doing at the youth level with the ratio when you break it down from games to practices?
What is the ratio?
Like,
I'm not numbers.
like you guys all went through it, right? So
Yeah.
do you think you guys practiced a lot
Like 2 games, 1 game, like let's say, I'm talking now, let's say the 8 and 9 development.
And that goes back to kind of like whatever resource you have. Like like you guys said, how many days a week do you have access to a field to practice, right? That's the realities of it, right? That's what and some associations are blessed more than others, right? Some associations don't have field time, right? So for me, I was a guy that always, like, for me, game situation, you learn a lot. And so, for instance, after a game, if I'm coaching a team or managing a team, I'm not telling the kid what we did wrong at that point during the game, and that's one. A lot of coaches will expose that kid right then and there. Write it down. Write all the bad things, not necessarily bad things, because everything is a learning opportunity, right? So what I like to do is in game situations, I write those things that we didn't do right, and then we address it after the game, because we could address that as a whole unit and we get better and better. So there's that in terms of a game. So there's a lot of value in games. You got to understand and you can't necessarily model after the U.S. development system, because it's totally different from Canadian development system. We're talking about travel ball is an industry, showcases are an industry. Right? They have their own purpose. And I'm not questioning intentions. It is what it is. That's the reality of it. They have a lot of travel teams in the U.S. So for me, to respond to that, games are very, very important, but it's how you're learning from those games is going to ultimately determine how much value you get out of those games, instead of trying to win trophies, for instance, right? And there's also good in winning too, or trying to compete. There's all these little lessons that you do, right? So there's that component, but there's the other half component to everything. Everything's a balance. At the end of the day, it's like you have so much value in the individual practice too, right? You got to make sure you could break it down and work on the problematic skill sets that you need to on the individual side. You can't start breaking that down in a game, right? Because you're trying to teach the kid to naturally play in that fight or flight mentality mode, because that keeps the athleticism going, right? When we start to try to say, okay, I need to move my hands this way at full game speed, you're totally taking the athleticism away from the kid, right? So that's why it's like it's a dance of practice, game, and how you're breaking it down with that is important too. It's like, if I'm playing games, am I just trying to win? Which is probably a lot of the models that the younger coaches do in the U.S., because that's how they recruit players, right? So it's like, it goes back to intention, right? And what is your intention? Is your intention to just win trophies? I would totally manage it differently. Sometimes, like Denzel Clark was a perfect example. Some of you guys might know Denzel Clark. He's in AA with the Oakland Athletics. He was released from his OBA team, right? Because he wasn't good enough. And he's playing professional baseball right now as, the 7th prospect in the Oakland A's organization. That's insane, right? Because are you trying to identify talent, or are you trying to win games, right? And that was ultimately, he wasn't producing at that age, right? But that's why it's not about necessarily winning. There's a lot of value in winning. So it's like the intention has to be development. What do I see in this kid? Can I really expose his athleticism? Because to me, athleticism is one of the most important things as a baseball player. If you're not in whether you're fielding ground ball or whether you're hitting, it's athleticism. It's the ability to make adjustments on the fly. That's why baseball is so difficult, right? It's a game of failure, because every time something goes one way, it could go slightly different the next time. And that's the millions of variables that happen in baseball, and the quicker we could identify those adjustments and make those adjustments, the better off we're going to be as players, right? So that's my take on kind of like what you asked, yeah.
I just had a quick thought when you asked that, especially at the younger level. I think we're here because we all love baseball. What's going to keep an 8-year-old kid playing? They want to have fun. What's more fun, a practice or a game? The games are going to keep them there. It's not the practice necessarily 8 years old. And again, it's not to say we can't practice or we don't want practice. But if we overwhelm them with practice situations like, okay, I've taken 100 ground balls, I've taken 100 pop-ups, I just want to play. And that athleticism that Hung's talking about, totally agree. Like, throw them out there and let that athleticism play. Let it develop organically, right? So if we don't keep that game fun, and that's games most of the time, like 10 years old, that kid's going to be out of it, right? And that's something we don't want at the developmental level. So it has to be enjoyable.
Well, just to add on that too, right, like you're saying about the game, I think if you talk to a lot of parents, and I'm out there talking all the time at the arena, hockey arena. Oh yeah, my son played baseball, and he found it really boring, right? And I find is that one of the key things why kids drop out of baseball, it's not the game part of it. Is that when they go to practice, and you have a coach that runs a practice where one guy is throwing the ball for batting practice, coach. One guy's hitting and everybody's standing around, right? That's where you're losing the kids.
Exactly.
And I think that's a problem
Yep.
in Canada with regards to the youth baseball is having the kids engaged in practice. If they're moving, like in hockey, they made big changes in hockey, like with this half ice thing, for more touches to get the kids more involved, right? Better for development. And I think that in baseball, they have to start driving that more in the house league levels, at every level, keeping these kids engaged so they have fun playing it, right?
Okay, so in practice there, 8U, you like you said, one coach pitches, everybody stands around, waits for the ball to be hit.
That's the wrong thing
Okay.
to do.
How many coaches do you have?
No,
Two?
he's just saying.
I'm just asking.
Yeah,
Two.
I'm asking.
But here, I have a suggestion.
My goal is to have 5 out there. in
Perfect.
practice,
Okay,
right?
so how many
And
balls?
then have stations.
Exactly. How many balls during that batting practice get hit like to the outfield? At 8U, right? Like nothing. So instead of having them out there, take them off and have one coach like hit fly balls, keep them engaged, right? That's splitting them up. You know, infielders are going to get a little bit more action, but don't have the specifically at that age. Don't have the outfielders there. Just take them aside and hit fly balls to them. Keep them engaged and excited and enjoying it, right? Make it fun. Have diving plays, things like that, because they're not getting action out there anywhere during batting practice. You want to say something?
Yeah, I would just say, and I think this really applies to younger coaching, but end of the day, like Cho said, like winning is not everything. We're here to develop kids. And for you guys as coaches, like no one really cares if you win or not. Like for you guys, you should be like, my team this next year, I want every guy who played to sign up the next year, right? You think Denzel Clark got to AA and they said, oh, did you win? Did you win the championship your last Little League season? No, it doesn't matter, right? But for you guys, if you take it, and like we're kind of all saying, like if you take it in the realm of trying to, you know, get these kids to love baseball and have fun, especially young, because that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to grow the sport in Canada. I think, again, like he said, the U.S., I think we think of it as like a really cool baseball, you know, country, but I think they do it wrong. And I think we can all agree, like, they take it too serious, right? I've coached a couple travel ball teams now in the U.S., like young, and we have coaches who are yelling at the kids. You think your kids would have fun doing that, right? So we're really just trying to make them love it at a young age, and I think that'll help them grow as a player moving forward. Yep.
I have 2 young daughters, 9 and 7, and they're dealing with that. They didn't want to play ball after their first year of playing because they said it was boring. They didn't like standing around. And then nothing on the coaches there. It was the poor practices. Honestly, I went and watched. I volunteered when I could. It's the way the practice is laid out, and they weren't really making it a fun atmosphere. They were trying to get the development done for sure. They were going over really good things, but it was like you had 4 kids waiting while 1 kid was hitting, right? There's so many things that you can keep these kids busy. You got one person hitting live, you got one person doing tee work, and then the other one's doing ground balls in the background, right? You got to keep them all busy. The standing around's tough. And then again, we go back down to time management too. I moved them, they wanted to go into softball because they have more friends there because they went hardball to softball. And not that they have more friends there, but these coaches actually do a really good job. Maybe not on the development side of it, but they really do a good job making sure that the kids are having a lot of fun. And at that age, that's all. You know, if they're able to throw the ball and know where to throw the ball when the ball's hit to them, I don't care if they know how to field a short hop at 9 years old. Like, obviously, I'm trying to get them to do it at home because I want them to be up here and better than everybody else. But as long as they know that if there's a ball hit to them at shortstop and there's a person running to first, they know how to throw to first. That's you're learn the game at the young age, and they do a really good job of making it fun for them, and they're excited to go back to practice or their games and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think just based on, because I always look at it in the macro lens, you know, me, like, I'm not I come from a different marketplace in terms of like my businesses as an entrepreneur, you know, and I'll always just look at it from a macro lens and identify a problem, right? So when I see like just these discussions are so important because a lot of this comes back to time management. It looks like, you know, how are we managing our practices? Are we managing our practices efficiently? You know, why are we doing this, right? These are the hard questions that we really have to ask ourselves and kind of get on the same page. Not only as individual coaches, but as an organization. This is the way Niagara Falls Baseball Association does it, for instance, and blah, 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 blah. You guys all have to kind of buy into that where, you know, time management is important. Everything that we've mentioned here is, well, what happens when you don't have that kid engaged? It's not about doing things. It's all about, are we as coaches, you know, prepping them properly? Are we using our resources? Are we using our other coaches properly, right? If we're answering our own questions, well, what do we do with the kids that are standing around? Well, that's a question that we have to ask ourselves. Well, let's get creative here. Let's do stuff where, like Renee talked about, we have to be the ones leading that. The kids aren't going to do it themselves, right? So it's like the kids should never be, especially at that 8U level. You know, they should never be just standing around, right? There's things that you could do, even like drills, even if you're indoor. Like instead of teaching them how to field a ground ball, you know what? Be a soccer goalie and just go dive for the ball. Try to block it. And now you're teaching them first step, movement, athleticism, just getting the objective done, right? And those are things I think in the long run will really help, you know, with development is at that early age, right? So I think time management though is crucial.
In terms of tomorrow, what can coaches and kids expect? Like how can the coaches help tomorrow with setting the kids up in groups? Like for us,
Right.
the 8, 9, like I guess the first session tomorrow.
They're going to be bored tomorrow.
No, I think that's why we wanted to structure this way. When I was talking with Jeff, it's you know, we encourage you guys, like we'll take the kids and run a workout, and you guys run the workout with us. See what we do in terms of our perspective of how we would run an 8U. And that's why it's like we are talking about this, like, do we need to make a practice plan? It's like, actually we will only know when we kind of get there and what the response is from the kids and where they are in their development right now and what's best for them, right? I think age works at this probably the best, just because that's usually defined with skill set as well. I think we're yeah, but I believe it's by age group. The last time I talked with you, yeah. So and the objectives are different, right? Like we're gonna run it totally different from an 18U perspective, right? There's different things that need to be touched upon that 18U level, and it's all dependent on also skill set and where they are in the development cycle, right? So it's kind of like, and that's the tricky part, is like, it's not like a blueprint. It's like I've made this blueprint now and I could just literally simply apply it to every single association. It's gonna work, right? There's a bit of kind of like when you're dealing with kids one-on-one and you're actually working with them from a physical development standpoint, yes, you're going to have to, get better as coaches at the end of the day. And this is the emphasis that we're driving. It's like the onus is on us as coaches that we have to educate ourselves even more so that we could teach these kids. And usually when I look at it from that macro lens, it falls down to kind of like the why. Well, why are we doing that? Everybody should be like, why? And that starts from you guys. It's like you guys say, I have a philosophy. This is my hitting philosophy. Why? Can you answer it? If you can't, then that's on you. You have to be able to answer it, because if you're not able to answer it, you're not teaching concepts. You're just telling them what to do. And this is where that learning experience as a kid is lost, is because they don't understand why, right? And that's, for me, that's the most important thing, yeah.
You guys need to get lathered up and start spitting out some questions. Oh, I like it. I like it. How old are you?
I'm 17.
That's why you're not drinking right now. You didn't get a drink. Yeah.
But I appreciate you coaching. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Giving back at such a young age.
I'm also a U18 player,
Yeah.
and a lot of what I hear about, a lot of the advice I get is how to get to the college level.
Right.
Now, I can't speak on behalf of every player, but for me personally, college isn't my final goal. So
Right.
what advice do you have to get past college to the next levels after that?
That's a really good question.
Don't
like,
listen to Jason because he didn't get there. But if
Hey,
you
that-
didn't know,
that-
if you didn't know, Renee
that
made
wound
it to the
is
big
still
league.
a little fresh. So I don't know. Sorry. So what, like, beyond college you're talking about? Honestly, I would reevaluate your goals, to be honest. I like, for me, one of my goals was always to be a Major League Baseball player. I didn't end up playing in the major leagues. I mean, it was an ambitious goal, but I got to experience professional baseball. Looking back, if you break down the actual percentages of that happening, right? And I'm not saying that it can't happen, but I'm saying, what about your college experience? What about your experience right now, right? It's like we have all these ambitions in the future, right? That we miss on all the opportunities right in front of us. And sometimes that's the problem is we're thinking that scholarships are just Halloween candies and we could just hand them out. Even I'll tell you the data, it doesn't make sense how we develop players for the collegiate level. Because in reality, the percentages of people playing successful Division I baseball, especially for a Canadian kid, and we talked about this earlier, in the collegiate realm, they opened something called the portal, right? You could literally transfer from one school to the other, and I believe there's one guy that was affected locally here. You guys all probably know him, Dio. He's gone to, and he had a successful career at Alabama. That's the realities of it, right? So you're like a lot of these kids have the mindset, it's like, I want to play college ball. That's a great goal to have. I want to play professional. That's a great goal to have. But now it's like, okay, I got to really break it down now and what it really takes, like, to get there, right? So I wouldn't look too forward because what I've noticed is a lot of people have different expectations, right? And I think it's so important to, understand that, it's not necessarily where you go, it's the journey. Because you can't get there until you actually work out the crinkles and irons within what you're doing as a player, right? So if you're 17U right now, and what's your immediate goal right now?
Right now, I want to be successful in the winter, just getting my skills developed and
Right.
become a better player myself.
And then for what goal in terms of after you're done high school baseball, what's your goal?
I want to go to college.
For the experience of playing collegiate baseball, right? So for me, that's a great goal to have because you're right next door, right? When that happens, you're going to have different sets of goals that are different from your perspective, from your current perspective right now, right? Because in college, you might go there and you might have a totally different perspective, and all of a sudden you take a course that totally changes your life in baseball. And that's why it's like, for me, the end goal shouldn't be professional baseball. The end goal should be having a baseball experience at the next level, and the next level until the game says you're not longer good enough to play. Right? Or you're too old. The game will tell you that. I thought I was going to play forever, but because of my experiences, I could impact baseball in different ways too. So I wouldn't say it's good to have high ambitious goals and very specific goals, but I'm a big believer, and now more so than ever, is to enjoy the game for what it is. And if you become the best version of that baseball player you can possibly become, the fruit of your labor will come. And that's what you have to understand. You can't force anything just because you want it. You got to prove it, right? So it's like, focus on now, focus on your short-term goals. And as your short-term goals are achieved, your perspective will change on where your next goal is, and your next goal, and your next goal, right?
Question to kind of follow up on that. As a coach that doesn't have like a lot of like high-level baseball experience, how, as a coach, would I help a player get to the next level?
For me, I'm a big believer on self-education. We have something called the internet. There's a lot of, and that internet is the biggest thing is we have all these negative connotations of the internet, of the digital world and stuff like that, but one of the positives is communication, being able to communicate with others. So I could teach, if I'm in, let's just say, Korea, I could teach, baseball, through the internet and teach other people. The problem is what's good food and what's poisonous, right? And that's what you do is, as you develop yourself and learn, you constantly become better from it. You give more value as you learn more, right? So for me, it's like I would continually invest in self-education, especially with baseball. I would be around the game more, have more conversations around baseball, watch more big league games. What do they do? Why do they do it, right? And all these things have nothing to do with external circumstances or forces, right? It's everything to do within. And as we take that responsibility and roles of playing that developer, right, we should provide more value if we give more value to ourselves, right? So I would say self-education. If you're getting back into coach, there's a lot of resources, like, there's a lot of information out there. Look at the bad stuff, look at the good stuff, have conversations about it, talk about it, have perspectives. As people give perspective, your perspective will change as well, right? So self-education, 100%.
Quick, and also too, don't try and be another coach. Like baseball, like hitting, like it's all different. Like think about it's a mixing pot, and you're taking everything, and you may like something that Renee said, and may not like something that Beggar said. Which whoa. But you got to understand, take different things and kind of grow yourself that way, like Cho said, right? Invest in yourself. One thing may not work for you, but you can try something else that does work and kind of grow off that. That's what I would say.
One other quick thing, I think, and it happened to me actually, and we see it a lot in other sports, hockey. We get so wrapped up in keeping a kid who's really good with us because we don't want them to go and we hold on to their rights and everything, right? If we know that we can't serve a kid who deserves to flourish, let them go. Let them go somewhere where they're going to do really well and succeed. It's not about us. It's not about keeping a kid down with us because we want to win the games at the 10U level or whatever it is, right? Let that kid go somewhere where they're going to get the exposure, recognition, and like improvement and coaching or whatever it is that they need.
Renee.
Yeah, on that question right there, like I got two great assistant coaches. I think they played college level, but it wasn't a very good school. They were good players, but they know the game so well, and that's why I like having them around. My pitching coach is really good with my pitchers. He gets like the arm care stuff. He gets everything. Like trust in those extra coaches if you have them, right? Again, like going off of the knowledge of the game. You can't stop learning. I'm still learning. I didn't even know what catch play was until the other day. So, but yeah, and then again, like learning from everyone. It goes as a hitter and definitely as a pitcher and definitely as an infielder. I was told some stuff when I was younger that I thought that was the way because no one told me why I was doing it. I did it that way. Didn't like it. I brought in not brought in, but like I listened to another coach. He was saying something that made sense, and you kind of find your own swing, right? So it's like being a coach. Now I'm getting knowledge from this guy, getting knowledge from that guy. Don't like that, but that sounds cool. So I would never say everybody's or no one's. Sorry, I wouldn't say like you're right, you're wrong. I would never say like this hitting coach is a bad hitting coach. I would always think about a bigger picture. What is he really trying to teach the kid here? I'm not going to say like don't listen to that guy, right? But going on your question to Cho, personally, my goal was never to be a big leaguer, never. My goal was to just be the best player on the field, and how would I do that is take my extra time and do what I need to do to get my skill set better. I did want to go to college. That's all I wanted to do. I played on Team Canada. I was lucky enough to get on that team. It wasn't even a goal of mine to get on there. I had a good tournament, got on there, and then at the junior level, and then got to college. Once I got to college, then I got drafted, okay? Late draft pick, 36th round, okay? Not early. I didn't get a lot of money. Back then, it was a draft and fall, so I made, accomplished one goal, going to school on a scholarship, help my family out. That was my goal. Now I'm drafted. I was like, fuck, sorry. Wow, I could play professional ball, but they didn't offer me anything. So they wanted me to go to school. They wanted to see me develop and see what kind of player I was, because it's different back then, right? So now I have a new goal. I want to be a professional player. So I went to school. I took a speech class. I hated talking in front of people, but I knew pros had to talk in front of the camera. So like I took an initiative and tried to do that to help me out. I'm still terrible at it, but yeah, I don't love it. And then again, my next goal was pro, okay? It wasn't the big leagues, it was to play pro. Signed out, again, late draft pick, I signed. Again, my goal is to be the best player out there. I'm an outfielder now, I want to be the best right fielder or whatever position I'm playing that day. I want to stand out, and I want to be the best guy, right? And how am I going to do that? I'm going to put in that extra work with myself, asking the coach if they're able to put in the time in to put the work in. And again, I moved through those minor leagues because I outworked a lot of people, and that's how I got to the big leagues, and just opportunities just opened up for me. I'm grateful for every opportunity, and I just ended up there. I don't know, if someone didn't get hurt, would have I gotten there? I don't know, right? But I showed that I was willing to work, put in the extra time, and be the best guy at that position at that time to be that pick.
I want to answer your question too, because I'm going to give you a different message to these guys. Your goal is to play in the big leagues? Then play in the big leagues. Play in the big leagues. Keep that as your goal. Don't get rid of that goal. It's not going to happen next year, right? You're going to go to college. Be the best player you can be in college. Don't cut corners, okay? If you cut corners and you don't make it to the big leagues, you're going to regret it. You're going to regret it because you didn't do everything that you could do to get to the big leagues, right? I didn't get to the big leagues. That was my goal. I did not cut corners. Even though I didn't get and reach my ultimate goal, so ultimately I was a failure. But along the way, I got to play in 2 Olympics. That wasn't my goal. That was really freaking cool. I got to play in 2 World Baseball Classics. Well, it wasn't even a thing when the big leagues were my goal, but that was really cool. I played in 9 times with Team Canada, representing the country across the world. That's not a thing when you're a baseball player because your goal is the big league. Because I was doing a lot of things the right way, all these other things started coming into my life that were really, really fulfilling. And when the day came, when they tore that jersey off my back and released me and I was done, because I did everything that I could possibly do, and I had 0 regrets, I could hang them up without worrying about anything. I was fulfilled.
I was there his last game.
He was.
Yeah.
His first time wearing the Canada jersey was my last time at senior level. Was my last time. We played in 2009 in Italy. And it was the first time. My 9th time playing for Team Canada was my first time winning a medal, and that was where it finished up. Did you play? No, I'm kidding.
I didn't do well. Anything else?
Bottoms up. Ask some questions. There we go.
What age or what milestone, so pitching question, what age or milestone would you be looking at to start to introduce off-speed?
Yeah, great question.
6. No, I'm kidding.
This is a great question.
There are 2 questions I was waiting for. That was one of them. My answer is, there is no good answer. Okay? Like I said earlier, everybody develops at a different age, especially physically, right? Everybody develops at it, so you can't go on what age. It's ability, recognizing what they can do and can't do, recognizing if they're ready. Can they command a fastball? Are they consistent with it? But then I go into the second half of my answer, which is, they're going to get to an age, 10, 11, 12, 13, they're going to frickin' do it anyway. Okay, they're going to go in the backyard with their buddies and spin 50 breaking balls in a row because they recognize that they can get this ball spinning this way. So they're going to do it anyway. So I'd rather moderate that, watch them, and now I can at least put the leash on them a little bit and recognize how many repetitions they're going to throw. And so that might give them that gratification of being able to do it, but now I can limit the numbers. Did you want to say something? Did you get something? Oh, pitching. Hello.
People are just that are you, because at a young age, I find out the problem with teaching guys changing, right? Because it's the same arm action, you want them to throw as hard as you can. If anything, I'd rather them learn to change it before a curveball, which is philosophy on that.
100%. You're my new pitching coach, man. Here's the only thing. The only problem at the young age, like the 8U, 9U, 10U. I've got zero problems if they can. The hands are so small, right? That's the only issue. But again, recognize that somebody can start, their hands start getting a bit bigger, and now they're going from that 3-seam fastball, baseball here, that 3-seam fastball where they're palm ball, where they're throwing it, and now they're starting to hold it more like a 2 or 4-seam fastball with 2 fingers. It's like, okay, now I'm going to show you a change-up grip, and really, if we can just get that ball coming off of, these 2 fingers instead of these 2 fingers, then now we're starting to introduce the concept of that change-up, right? And just the feel of different. I played with pro guys like AA, AAA. Their change-up sucked. And they didn't like it. And really, it's because it comes down to comfort. It's field pitch, right? They never felt comfortable throwing it. So if we can introduce it at a younger age, sure, 12 years old, 11, if their hands are getting a little bit bigger, yeah, start throwing it like this. If you can throw it and be comfortable with it, then that's going to be a better pitch. How to get comfortable with it? Great question. Long toss the heck out of it, okay? Stretch it out. You're going to long toss your fastball, long toss your changeup. Now, eventually they'll figure out, and this is what I hate cookie cutters. Don't say, okay, you have to throw it this distance, you have to throw this pitch. No, forget that, okay? Eventually they'll start to figure out, and pro guy, I was a guy, however far I was throwing my fastball that day, long tossing, if it was like 150 feet, if it was 300 feet, I'm throwing my changeup that far too. I'm throwing this thing every single day. Other pro guys, big league guys, they didn't like throwing as far as they could, but they'd throw it at 120 feet, something around there. But the philosophy and that concept is still the same. Throw it at an increased distance than just 60 feet, and that's going to help you maintain your fastball arm speed and just that comfort with the grip and letting it go off the two other fingers, right? More pitching?
No, pitching question.
Yeah.
What are the benefits or negative things for like 13U players throwing heavy balls?
I was waiting for this. I said to him earlier, I said, how long before I get the weighted ball question? You're going to hate me for this. I don't have a good answer for you. No. Okay.
You're not that funny.
It's going to work for some. It's not going to work for others. People will tell you, I've had experience with pitchers that love it and they buy into it and they feel good and they feel strong and their velocity increases. I've had other guys, they feel like crap, they feel weak, they feel sore, their velocity decreases. So that no cookie cutter thing, I don't think we can do it. And we're always going to hear those glorified stories about so-and-so added 10 miles an hour and now they're at 90 or whatever it is. You're not going to hear the stories about so-and-so blew out their arm and now they're out for a year. You're not going to. Okay, we're not going to hear those stories. So I love long toss. I like a regular ball. I like the lacrosse ball. It's like the same weight, but it's a bit smaller so that the friction, the arm speed can actually feel like it's increased. But I can't sit here and say I'm all for it or I'm all against it. I think you need to read the kid. If they feel strong, if they feel healthy, then we can start increasing it. Just be careful at the younger level because the ligaments and tendons and muscles haven't developed the same as, a 25-year-old who's doing a weighted ball program. We see them in the big leagues or pro ball. They're full-grown men, and they're strong enough to kind of weigh the pros and cons. So just be careful with it. Don't go too heavy, too hard. Don't go to the max end ranges of the weighted balls. And if they're telling you that it doesn't feel right or if they feel a little achy, proceed with caution.
Mechanics is huge too. You definitely don't want to introduce weighted balls if you don't have the right mechanics, right? So again, I think of it pretty much the same way that Beggar thinks of it. You have to read the pitcher, read the player, because there's players that do it too, right? Everybody wants a stronger arm. Long toss is huge, right? But again, if your mechanics aren't good and then you put a heavier ball in your hand, you're going to just stress everything out, right? So that's a huge factor. And then, like you said, if your athlete is strong enough, you think that they can do it. And I highly recommend if you're going to do weighted balls, don't be a coach doing it if you have no idea about it. Learn about it. There's programs, because it is a thing, right? And you can't avoid it because everybody's doing it. if you're going to teach it or let your players do it, make sure that they have good knowledge about it. Because my pitching coach does it, but he went to like the drive line course. Like we sent him to Washington to make sure that if they're going to do this, they're going to do it right. Because the last thing I want is a kid to get hurt on the mound or on the field because we just said, hey, I see these guys doing heavy balls, lighted balls, or lighter balls, and now he blew out. Now I'm going to feel terrible, right? So make sure you're well educated on it if you're going to do it.
I'll just say, like, I was a pro pitcher. I do not teach or show anybody the weighted ball stuff for that exact reason. I'm not for it or against it. I don't know enough about it, and I never went through it myself. So people, like, if there's somebody who's gone through it and is knowledgeable and they want to teach it, fine, but then go back to everything else I was saying. Just proceed with caution and read the kid.
And one thing, that goes for everything, right? All the drills that you're going to teach your players, don't just do it for fun. Like, have an idea. The question is why. We're answering the why. Why are we doing this drill? And I want to be a coach that's knows why that I'm going to tell these players doing it.
Actually, I'll follow up just on the other side of it. What's your philosophy on kids swinging a weighted bat for practice?
I do that. Oh, on deck? Or you want to do that? I do like drills with it, but.
Or when they're on deck or whatever?
So on the drill side of it, plays into the size, like if they can handle the overweight, underweight bat programs again, and I know all that stuff, so that's why I do it with my players. But the on deck stuff, on deck is getting loose. I don't believe that if you put a weighted bat in your hand, you're going to be faster because it's actually harder to swing. I personally think if you have a lighter bat in, you're activating your fast twitch muscles. It may feel faster. I don't know, but the on deck routine is a timing situation. You're timing that pitcher. Me personally, I'm getting my load in. I'm not even swinging the bat. I don't swing the bat at all in the on deck circle, and if I do, it's more like trying to adjust my spine, get a nice crack in here or there, whatever, before getting in the box. But the weighted bat stuff, it's more of make sure I can get loose, swinging around a bit, maybe one or two swings, but I don't think in the end it's really gonna help you out once you step into the box. Do you agree, Joe?
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I was never a big weighted bat guy. I would use it to stretch out more, and then on deck especially, that's when most people use weighted bats, right? So I would basically get rid of it. For me, timing was everything. On deck, I'm trying to maybe if I'm in the hole, I'm outside with a weighted bat, stretching, getting loose, and then by the time I'm on deck, I'm literally locked in to the pitcher. I'm just literally taking my timing. And as the pitcher gets the ball back from the catcher, this is when I'll take my swings, just regular swings with the bat, just not lighter or heavier. For me, I was a big, just use the bat for the swings, and then the purpose is the timing, right? Just get on time, your swing will play. If anything, I believe what Tassoni said in terms of swing a lighter bat, right? I believe that if you swing a lighter bat, I think there's more value than swinging a heavy bat. But that's beyond the point. Like for me, regardless if I swing a heavy or light bat, my reason why I'm doing that, the purpose of the on deck, I think majority is timing and get ready to hit, basically, get loose, right? So no.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything else?
We're ball talking here, guys.
Yeah.
We're ball talking.
Anything. Spit anything.
Okay, so for infielders then, I got a few things that you try and get them to feel low and stay low on a hop, but they always seem to want to come up. What are some drills, confident builders that they trust their glove and they're going to feel it when they're low?
Yeah, I think there's a few things we can kind of do here. One, I think, is just building that confidence, right? I think I mentioned it earlier. Turf for me is a great learning tool because when you're taking that ground ball in turf, you're not thinking about that hop, right? Same thing with just drill work, right? When you make them feel more comfortable with getting good hop, feeling good about it, I think that'll help them kind of lose that fear, right? Because no one likes really doing stuff they're not good at, right? If I told you that you're going to go take ground balls and get a bad hop every time, are you going to be afraid out there? But if I told you that you're going to go take ground balls and get a good hop, you're just going to, it's going to work. So I think building them as an infielder, working on fundamentals, building them up, I think ultimately that will help them in the long run. Because again, like if they can find a hop, for instance, use their feet to find a good hop, again, they're not going to be going in like this. They're going to be going in like this because they know I'm either getting a long hop or a short hop, and that middle hop isn't going to come up and get me. So I would focus on kind of those things and working their fundamentals to gain confidence in ground balls.
And I think Willow made a good point. Like, it's the footwork, right? That's ultimately the reason why kids are afraid of the ball, is because they're flat-footed. And what that means is you're leaving it to fate.
Yeah.
Because it's however hard that ball was hit. If I'm stationary, our philosophy is you choose the hop, actually. The hop doesn't choose what hop you get. Like, once you're in that mentality, you're literally playing Russian roulette, right? Like, you're gonna get 50% of the time, you're gonna get it in between hop, or I guess it's 33% of the time, right? So I'm a big believer in like implementing ladders. Like I was a ladder guy every day, because my footwork in the whole process of fielding the ground ball never stops. So again, there's that why. Why do we move our feet constantly throughout the whole transition of fielding a ground ball? Do those kids understand why? Because if they don't, you could tell them about short hop and long hop. They don't know how to do it, right? So it's stuff like that where I believe that if we are able to understand the concept of why do kids get a bad hop, why are they afraid, right? And I'm telling you it's footwork, then we have to implement those strategies based around footwork that helps them understand how to actually field a short hop or a long hop, right? And that's usually the case with kids. They're flat-footed. Yeah. Good. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, we could break and then walk around. If you have individual questions, have some pizza. We ordered some pizza for you guys. There's a cash bar at the back, and we could just close out the next, I guess, 40 minutes or so, just more casually. That works.
We appreciate it, Joe. All the guys,
Like we said, grab a drink, and if you feel like asking a personal question, we know what position the guys are and whatnot, but feel free to have a casual conversation and ask anybody in the room for that.
We'll start the line with Renee right over here.
Well, one last thing, dress warm tomorrow.
Oh. Yeah? All good. We have some sweaters. Yeah. No, we appreciate it. Just something to close it off. I appreciate this a lot because it gives us feedback on what our field is actually asking for, right? So for us, like I said, we've built a foundational online curriculum that's very affordable. It's very effective. We answer the questions on the fundamental side of things of why we do things. And it's important discussion that we feel is very, very valuable for development, especially in Canada. We can't model the same development systems that we do in the U.S. And I know it's easy to see, oh, this kid got a scholarship or he's ranked PBR, whatever it is, right? Like there's that side. There's a lot of good in that, but I think where we have to really kind of like emphasize at the grassroots level is athleticism, fundamentals, and fun. Making it fun. And as we do that, it's on us for us to be more educated so that we could provide more value to our kids. Yeah, so thank you. Good?